Welcome back to another console collector video.
Let's kick off part 9.
Here's a fairly obscure console, the Mattel Hyperscan from 2006. Its original retail price was $69 US. Adjusted for inflation, that's $87 US. The Hyperscan is a video game console from the toy company Mattel, released in October 2006. It uses radio frequency identification, RFID, along with traditional video game technology. Basically a hybrid console that uses disc-based software along with specialty cards that can be scanned into the console. It was marketed towards boys between the ages of 5 and 9 who were not ready for high-end video games in terms of maturity or expense. The console used CD-ROMs as well as a 13 MHz RFID scanner that reads and writes to the cards, which in turn activates features and save data from the game. Players are able to enhance the abilities of their characters by scanning cards. The console itself was $69.99 at launch, but at the end of its very short lifespan, prices of the system were dropped down to $9.99 USD. The system was discontinued in 2007 due to poor sales. The Hyperscan had a whopping 5 games released for it, being one of the smallest game libraries for a home console in history. It was featured as one of the worst 10 video game systems by PC World magazine. The console used a poor quality, cheaply made controller, and that was attributed to its poor sales and reputation. The best selling game was the pack-in game X-Men. Now, the console's named Hyperscan. This console is far from hyper. They should have called it Slow Scan. When you scan in these cards, it takes a ridiculous amount of time to load. Like the slowest loading video game console of all time. It puts the Neo Geo CD to shame, and that console is infamous for slow load times. So before we get to looking at the actual console, let's just take a look at the very generic, cheaply made controller. Like pushing these buttons, you can't even really feel like they're being pushed. It has 2 really awful shoulder buttons, as you see here. It actually sinks like awkwardly back into the controller instead of straight down. And then you got some more shoulder buttons here on the back. And there you can see it's Hyperscan, made in China. And you got the cool little Hyperscan logo there, but yeah, this controller is just terrible. The games came on generic discs like this. They didn't actually come in cases, that's why I have just a disc only. And these were the cards you could scan in. These are some X-Men cards I have with it. They're very thick. Yeah, these are just what you would scan in to do upgrades. So here's the console itself. It looks probably pretty strange. You got a power slot on the side here. Then you got your USB and power source here. This thing actually opens up like a book. And there you go, Hyperscan. This is the scanning part, and this here is the disc tray. For the price, I guess it's not terrible, but you better have a lot of free time if you want to play the Hyperscan, because again, it should be called the Slow Scan. There is a reason why this was voted one of the worst video game consoles of all time. Probably because it is. So that is the Hyperscan from 2006. Now we have the Wii U from 2012. Its original retail price was $349 US. Adjusted for inflation, that's $388. The Wii U was a home video game console developed by Nintendo and was released in November 2012. The Wii U is actually the successor to the very popular Wii, despite the similar name. The Wii U is the first Nintendo console to support high-definition graphics. The system's primary controller is the Wii U gamepad, which features a touchscreen and combines directional buttons, analog sticks, and action buttons. it was a very unique controller. It was essentially a tablet. The screen can be used either as the main display, allowing you to play the game directly on the gamepad without the use of a television, or it can be used along with the TV display, with the gamepad showing maps, display info, and other item screens. The Wii U is backwards compatible with all Wii software and accessories. The Wii U was compatible with a number of controllers such as the gamepad, the Wiimote, nunchuck, balance board, or even Nintendo's more traditionally designed classic controller or the Wii U Pro controller. Online functionality centers around the Nintendo Network platform and Miiverse. The Wii U was offered in a white 8GB model, black 32GB model, and a 32GB Zelda Wind Waker HD Special Edition. The Wii U was met with a generally positive reception, including praise for its gamepad controller, improvements to online functionality over the Wii, backwards compatibility with existing Wii software and controllers, affordability in comparison to other 8th gen consoles, and its free online functionality. However, the Wii U received criticism in several areas, including the gamepad's battery life and functionality, along with a weak lineup of launch titles, poor marketing, and the simple fact the name confused consumers to thinking the Wii U was simply a Wii with a gamepad accessory and not a new console altogether. Wii U production officially ended in January 2017. In March 2017, Nintendo released a new console to follow up the Wii U, the Nintendo Switch. The Wii U was noted for pioneering several concepts that were refined in the Switch. The Wii U used a disc-based games as well as offered digital games through the Nintendo eShop. The Wii U saw a number of great titles like Super Mario Maker, Mario Kart 8. We also saw 2 HD remakes of Zelda Wind Waker and Zelda Twilight Princess. The rarest game on the Wii U is Hello Kitty Cruisers, the bestseller was Mario Kart 8, and the final game released was Just Dance 2019. So just like the Wii, Nintendo was still releasing games for the Wii U after the console's discontinuation. So here, we'll start with the gamepad. This is essentially a futuristic style pad you used to see in the old movies. It has 2 joysticks, directional pad, face button, start select, TV controls, got your microphone, your home button, your power button. This even is an amiibo scanner right here. Got a built-in camera. This thing was actually pretty packed full. In addition to shoulder buttons, headphone port, AC adapter, volume control, more shoulder buttons. Yeah, this pad does a lot. As for the console itself, similar to the Wii, it's got the SD card there, 2 USB slots there, sync, power, eject your disk drive, and then just the connections on the back. This also used a Wii sensor bar. This here is the Wii U Pro controller. This definitely made the Wii U great for traditional controlling games. Definitely a must on a lot of the great Wii titles if you're not a fan of the Wiimote and nunchuck. This thing has an insane battery life too. And you can see it's got the shoulder buttons, all the same buttons as the Wii pad, sync button. As for the games, they came in these blue cases, sometimes red. This is Zelda Breath of the Wild, one of the greatest games ever. And it came on Blu-ray discs now, just like the PS3. Breath of the Wild was actually one of the last release games. Not the final, but one of the last, because this also debuted on the Switch. So that is going to wrap up the Wii U from 2012. Time to look at a home console that was backed by Kickstarter funding, the Ouya from 2013. Its original retail price was $99 US, adjusted for inflation that's $108. The Ouya was an Android-based console developed by Ouya Inc. in 2012 and released in June 2013. Development of the Ouya was funded via Kickstarter, raising $8.5 million and becoming the Kickstarter's 8th highest earning project in its history at the time. The Ouya was marketed as a do-it-yourself console. It was easy to open up and mod. The system also features an exclusive Ouya store for applications and games designed specifically for the Ouya platform, aimed for more casual gamers. All systems can be used as development kits, allowing any Ouya owner to also be a developer without the need for licensing fees. All games were initially required to have some kind of free-to-play aspect, whether it be completely free, as a free trial, or purchasable upgrades, levels, or other in-game items. This requirement was later removed. Despite the successful Kickstarter campaign, sales of the Ouya were lackluster, causing financial problems for Ouya and forcing the company to wind down the business. Its software assets were sold, and then a short time later announced the discontinuation of the Ouya console in 2015. The Ouya has since been considered a commercial failure and is remembered for being the console with lots of potential but very poor execution. The Ouya used a less than stellar controller that was wireless, but it was criticized for its poor quality design. The Ouya only supported digital games. So this is the Ouya console itself. Just a pretty generic branding right there, just Ouya. It literally fits in the palm of your hand. Just a little cube. Here you can see you got your power, Ethernet, and a couple of connections there, and then your main power button here. And then these screws would come out, and you could pull the Ouya right out of the shell. A pretty simple little tiny home console. Now this is the Ouya controller. It's got 4 cheap feeling shoulder buttons, 2 joysticks which feel decent, cheap little D-pad, some face buttons, and then the home button. A big complaint with the Ouya controller is it's actually requires batteries. These little faces come off and reveal the battery compartment. These are magnetic though, so I gotta give Ouya that in the design choice. That's pretty neat. The Ouya, fortunately, did not need this controller. You could actually connect a DualShock PS3 controller to the Ouya. You plug it in and sync it with it, and yeah, you could play with the PS3 controller. And that's what I did with my Ouya. It's a saving grace from this less than stellar controller. The other great thing about the Ouya is it's a great retro box. I basically loaded up with a whole bunch of retro ROMs from the NES, Atari, SNES, Neo Geo, Genesis, even PS1. It's good for that. Other than that, the Ouya, just really wasn't executed well. It does have its purpose. So that's going to wrap up the Ouya Kickstarter console from 2013. This leads to our current generation of video game consoles. All 3 systems are part of the 8th generation of video game consoles. First off is the Xbox One from 2013. Its original retail price was $499 US. Adjusted for inflation, that's $544 today. The Xbox One is the successor to the Xbox 360, and it's the 3rd home console in the Xbox family. It was released in North America in November 2013. Microsoft marketed the device as an all-in-one entertainment system, hence the name Xbox One. The Xbox One uses disc-based games with the option of digital downloads via the Xbox Live Marketplace. It is used a traditional Xbox controller similar to the original Xbox controller. The Xbox One has seen an S model as well as an Xbox One X model released since launch. The Xbox One has some great games released for it, from Cuphead to Gears of War 4, State of Decay, and for Forza Horizon, which that series is still going strong on the platform. Up next is the PlayStation 4 from 2014. The original retail price was $399 US. Adjusted for inflation, that's $428 US. The PS4 is the successor to the PS3, and it was launched in November 2014 in North America. The PS4 has a number of unique features, including connectivity to Sony's handheld, the PlayStation Vita, as well as the PlayStation VR. The PS4 is the first home video game console to have a full, true immersive virtual reality experience with the PlayStation VR. The PS4 continues to use disc-based media for its games, as well as offers digital games downloadable from the PlayStation Network. The PS4 uses a DualShock 4 controller. It has since seen a slim model and a PS4 Pro model since launch. The PS4 has a huge library of great games including the new Spider-Man, Horizon Zero Dawn, and Bloodborne. The VR has a lot of great games as well, such as Astrobots, Job Simulator, and Arizona Sunshine. The VR has some great horror offerings as well, such as Paranormal Activity and the terrifying Home Sweet Home. Finally, we have the Nintendo Switch from 2017. Its original retail price was $299 US. Adjusted for inflation, that's $309 US today. The Nintendo Switch is the successor to the Nintendo Wii U and was released in March 2017. It is a hybrid console that can be used as both a stationary home console and portable console. In the home console mode, the main unit is inserted onto a docking station to connect to a TV, screen, or monitor. For portable use, it can be removed from the dock and operated similarly to a tablet or handheld game system through its LCD touchscreen and removable controllers. It can also be placed in a standalone tabletop mode visible to several players. Its wireless Joy-Con controllers then can be removed from both sides of the console to support handheld style play. They can also connect to a grip controller accessory to provide a traditional home console game controller form. Or they can be used individually in the hand like a Wiimote and Nunchuck. The Nintendo Switch games and software are available both on physical flash-based ROM cartridges or for digital download via the Nintendo eShop. The Switch has an amazing game library so far despite its short time on the market. Games like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, the biggest video game crossover game of all time, Super Mario Odyssey, and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild are some of the best games on the platform. Other great games like Fire Emblem Warriors, Mario Kart 8, Splatoon 2, Let's Go Pikachu, and Let's Go Eevee, and even Fortnite can be found on the Nintendo Switch. One unique thing about all three of the main consoles in the 8th generation of gaming is they are all region-free, which means all three systems can play games from every country in the world. This is the first time for Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo all to be region-free in the same generation. The PS4 is currently the leader in the 8th generation of game consoles based on sales, with the Nintendo Switch coming in second, despite entering the marketplace very late. Xbox One is pulling up third place. So that wraps up our look through the history of home video game consoles. Alright, that wraps up part 9 and concludes the home video game consoles. Stay tuned for part 10 and we'll dive into handheld consoles.